All right, everybody, part two of the Intro to Japanese lecture. Now I'm going to talk about syntax, sentence structure, really basic grammar. So one of the most different things between Japanese and English is the grammar structure. Japanese uses an SOV structure. And I'm going to introduce what subject, object, and verb mean. But the important takeaway from this slide is the verb is always at the end of the sentence. The verb is always the last thing that you say. That's weird, probably from a native English speaker, and that's one of the maybe one of the most difficult things to get over when you're early studying Japanese. Is the thing that you do, the verb, is the last thing you say. For example, I apple eat. I Japanese like. Um, we manga draw. Right? You school go. I school teach, right? So if you try to remember that basic structure, subject, object, verb, the most important thing, the thing that's done, the verb, is the last thing in the sentence. Important word here, watashi. This means I. There's other words that mean I that we're not going to go over, right? Boku is another one. Atashi, ore, sesha is what people used to say like hundreds of years ago, like samurai, sesha wa samurai de gozaru. Nobody talks like that anymore. Anyway, watashi, I. Let's break down this basic sentence, and this will help us understand what subjects and objects are and how these are used grammatically in English and Japanese. So in the English sentence, let's look on the left first. Sorry, left. Um, I eat the apple. So what's the subject and the object of that sentence? Eat is a verb, right? To eat. Um, so the subject is who or what does the action, and the object is who or what the action happens to. So in this case, obviously, I is the subject and apple is the object. There is a way to remix this. I added passive voice. I'm sure you all understand active versus passive voice grammatically. Basically, it's a way to reverse the order. Rather than saying, I eat the apple, you say the apple was eaten. In that case, apple is the subject. The apple was eaten by me. I become the object. Apple becomes the subject. That's not that important. That's English, basically. I'm sure you all know that. Anyway, in Japanese, the syntax, again, the verb is at the end. Um, but what's interesting about Japanese is there's these things called particles, which these are these little syllables. I like to call them, they're little helpers. Anybody ever played like Zelda Ocarina of Time? It's like a little Navi. It says, hey, that tells you what things are. Um, so wa is a particle that attaches at the end of whatever the subject in the sentence is. Wherever the subject is in the sentence, if you attach wa at the end of it, you're telling whoever is reading or listening to the sentence, this is the subject of the sentence. Because in Japanese, actually, it's not really SOV. The subject and object can go anywhere as long as the verb is at the end. Wa is a subject marker. Watashi means I. Watashi wa apple eat. So it's not just I apple eat. You have to say wa because you're indicating now this watashi is the subject of the sentence. O is the object of the sentence. Watashi wa apple o eat. Right? Apple o watashi wa eat. Doesn't matter what the order is. O is attached to whatever the object of the sentence is. Does that make sense? I is the subject. Apple is the object. Wa is the subject marker. O is the object marker. Watashi wa ringo o tabemasu. Ringo is apple. Tabemasu is verb. We'll get a vocabulary list later. You don't have to remember any of this. I'm just introducing it. These little words here are called particles. It's just like prepositions. Have you heard the term preposition in English? On, of, about, before, to, at, in. Let's break down that word and think about it. Pre-position, right? In the store, on the table, about so and so, to the wherever you're going. I don't know. I don't want to say store again. Anyway, prepositions. That's because English is a prepositional language. You say these things before the thing they modify. Japanese is a postpositional language. So what's interesting is the particles come after the word they modify. So rather than on the desk, you say the desk on. Tsukue no ue. Ue means above or on, right? Rather than to the store, you say store to. Mise ni, right? And the same thing goes for the subject and the object. Watashi wa. At the end of the word, you attach particles are these little things that attach to a word to denote things. So they are postpositional in Japanese. Okay, how do I say I eat sushi? So sushi is how you say sushi. Tabemasu is to eat, and watashi is I. So what you need is you need the subject, you need the object, you need the verb, but you also need the subject marker and the object marker. Watashi wa sushi o tabemasu. Watashi wa sushi o tabemasu. Wa indicates the subject of the sentence. O indicates the object of the sentence, what the verb is being done to. Um, Here are some other points. So Japanese often omits the subject. It is a what's the word I'm looking for? It's a contextual language. So when you're talking to somebody, let's say for example, I'm speaking in Japanese and I say like the things that I did today. Oh, today I went to school, I went to the store, I did some groceries, I walked the dogs, so and so and so and so. In English, you keep saying I, right? You keep reintroducing the subject. In Japanese, you only introduce the subject once. After that, you just say to the store go, the dogs walk, and so on. You don't keep saying I. The subject is understood based on the context of the conversation you're having. So why am I saying all this? So if I want to say I eat sushi, I could say watashi wa sushi wo tabemasu. And the way you kind of directly translate this is as for me, I eat sushi. But a completely normal sentence in Japanese, you could just say sushi wo tabemasu. You could just say sushi eat. And that implies if you were already talking about yourself in the conversation or in the sentence, that also means I eat sushi. That's the more natural way to say I eat sushi. You just say eat sushi. It could be they eat sushi, he eats sushi, she eats sushi, I eat sushi, same thing. Um, and a little note, this might be a little unclear, but maybe for people who've been studying Japanese a little bit longer, you can say sushi wa tabemasu. There is a slight nuance different. Sushi o tabemasu. Remember, o is the direct object modifier. Sushi is the thing that's being eaten. In this case, why am I saying sushi wa tabemasu? Why am I using the subject indicator? Technically, it means, as for sushi, I eat that. So sushi is the subject of the sentence, and then you're following up by saying, yeah, I eat that. Right? So if somebody asked, what about sushi? If you're having a conversation, they can be like, sushi wa? And you can be like, yeah, tabemasu yo. Maybe it'll make sense with another example. Um, so how do I say I draw manga? Kakimasu is to draw. Watashi is I. Manga is manga. Watashi wa Watashi wa manga o kakimasu. I draw manga. You can also say manga o kakimasu. It's the exact same sentence. You're not identifying the subject, but it's understood through context. So they draw manga, manga o kakimasu. I draw manga, manga o kakimasu. If I say manga wa kakimasu, as for manga, I draw that. So when would I use that? So if somebody asks like, hey, do you like to draw? I heard you like to draw stuff. And I can be like, subete o kaku to wake de wa nai desu kedo, manga wa kakimasu. Well, I don't like to draw everything, but as for manga, I do like to draw that. Right? That's sort of like a specificity. This is more for people who are in upper beginner, lower intermediate. Here's some basic Japanese greetings. How you say good morning in a casual way? Ohayo, ohayo, ohayo. Formal is ohayo gozaimasu. Ohayo gozaimasu. Ohayo gozaimasu. Good afternoon. Konnichiwa. Notice konnichiwa. It's 5 syllables. There's two n's. So kon and then nichiwa. Konnichiwa. Good evening is konbanwa. Goodbye is sayonara. A more casual way to say bye, like between friends or like see you later. Ja ne. Ja ne. Or mata ne. Like again, see you again. Mata ne. Ja ne. That's a normal way to say bye. You all can start saying it when we leave class. Ja ne. Mata ne. Good night. Oyasumi nasai. Oyasumi nasai. O is a polite prefix that you can put on the beginning of something to make it sound polite. Yasumi means a rest. So a polite way to say rest. Nasai is actually a command. You're saying take a rest, but you put O at the beginning so it sounds polite. Oyasumi nasai. It's like please take a rest. That's how you say goodnight. Some more casual greetings. Arigato. We know this. If you want to say it nicer, arigato gozaimasu. Arigato gozaimasu. Excuse me or I'm sorry. Sumimasen. Sumimasen. And normally it just sounds like sumimasen. 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 That's just excuse me. If you bump into somebody or you want to get somebody's attention, sumimasen. How you say excuse me in a more formal way? Shitsurei. Shitsurei actually means like offense. It's a noun meaning offense. Shimasu means to do. So you're literally saying I commit an offense. Shitsurei shimasu. Oh, I'm so sorry. If you walk into the door, walk into somebody's office, or you bump into somebody in a more formal way, shitsurei shimasu. Nice to meet you, which we'll get into on the next slide. Hajime means beginning. Hajime mashite. Hajime mashite. Hajime mashite. Hajime mashite. Dozo yoroshiku. Hajime mashite. Dozo yoroshiku. That's a casual way to say nice to meet you. So, a self-introduction. The first thing you say is like, oh, it's beginning. It's hajimemashite. That's the beginning part of nice to meet you. Hajimemashite. And then how you introduce your name, there's two ways. Kofi desu. I'm Kofi. That's a casual way. Kofi desu. If I want to say it more politely, like when you all meet the people in the manga school, Kofi to moshimasu. Kofi to moshimasu. Name to moshimasu. Hajimemashite. Name to moshimasu. Yoroshiku onegai shimasu. Yoroshiku onegai shimasu. Yoroshiku onegai shimasu. Hajimemashite. Kofi to moshimasu. Yoroshiku onegai shimasu. I want you all to practice that. A few more sentences. I'm going to tell you how to say I like something and I don't like something. So like is ski. It's really spelled suki. Suki. But the u is kind of omitted because it's easier to say it. So ski. Ski means to like. So if I want to say I like a noun, like a thing, like a book, hon. Hon is book. Hon ga suki desu. Ga is a particle that we use here. Ga is sort of like the marker of the object that you like in the sentence. Hon ga suki desu. I like book. Manga ga suki desu. I like manga. Now, you can say you like a noun, but how do you say like you like to do something? So you take the verb, and then instead of ga suki desu, you say no ga suki desu. So the only thing difference, if you like a noun versus you like a verb, you like to do something, you put no there. Verb no ga suki desu. I like to sing. Utao no ga suki desu. I like to read. Yomu no ga suki desu. I like books. Hon ga suki desu. I like to read. Yomu no ga suki desu. Now, I like to do noun. You can put those together actually, right? So noun o verb no ga suki desu, right? So I like books, sorry. Hon ga suki desu. I like to read. Yomu no ga suki desu. I like to read books. Hon o yomu no ga suki desu. By itself, hon o yomu means to read books. So if you say I like that, hon o yomu no ga suki desu. Manga o kaku no ga suki desu. I like to draw manga. Kaku means to draw or to write. So manga ga suki desu. I like manga. But if you say I like to draw manga, manga o kaku no ga suki desu. Now we were gonna do this in class, but I want you to make your own sentence. So noun ga suki desu. You can just do this on your own. It's not homework. This is just useful, I think. Verb no ga suki desu. So maybe come up with 2 or 3. Now, noun o verb no ga suki desu. Try to come up with your own examples. Send them to me. If you really want to learn Japanese, just email me. Now, how do I say don't like? So suki desu is like. Suki ja nai desu is don't like. Janai. Janai is kind of a negative, how to negate things. Janai. Suki janai. I don't like that. Suki janai desu. AI art ga suki janai desu. I don't like AI art. AI art ga suki janai desu. I don't like to do verb. Verb no ga suki janai desu. It's the same structure, just instead of suki desu, you just say suki janai desu. Benkyou suru no ga suki janai desu. I don't like to study. Benkyou suru is to study. Benkyou suru. Benkyou suru no ga suki janai desu. I don't like to study. Noun and verb together. Yasai is how you say vegetable. Yasai. Taberu is how you say to eat. So, how do I say to eat vegetables? Yasai o taberu. The direct object modifier, direct object indicator is o. Yasai o taberu. To eat vegetables. I don't like eating vegetables. Yasai o taberu no ga suki janai desu. Try making your own sentences. Noun ga suki janai desu. Verb no ga suki janai desu. Noun o verb no ga suki janai desu. Try that. One more thing. How to ask a question is actually pretty simple. So ka is another particle in Japanese. That's the question indicator. So we have a subject indicator, we have an object indicator, and we actually have a particle that indicates this sentence is now a question. Very simple. So, how do I say I like manga? Manga ga suki desu. Right? That means I like manga. Now, how you ask somebody, do you like manga? You just put ka at the end. Manga ga suki desu ka? It's the exact same sentence. You just put ka at the end. Manga suki desu ka? Manga suki desu ka? I don't like vegetables. Yasai ga suki janai desu. You don't like vegetables? Yasai ga suki janai desu ka? Simple. Just put ka at the end and it becomes a question. I put together a short list of vocabulary words. I'm also going to upload these onto my courses since we're not meeting today. Basic words. So there's kanji, the hiragana version, the romaji version, which is how you pronounce it in the 3rd row column. And then 4th is how you say it in English. Watashi, I. Anata, you. Sensei, teacher. Gakusei, student. Namae, name. Manga, Nihon, Japan. Eigo, English language. Taberu, to eat. Miru, to see or to watch. Yomu, to read. Kaku, to write. Suki, to like. Nihongo, Japanese language. Tomodachi, friend. All right, that's all I got. I hope this is useful. Reach out if you all have questions.